So, Jono, we'll start with obviously the big news today that came out this morning that 18-year-old striker Will Goodwin, academy graduate, has moved on to Stoke City for an undisclosed fee. It's a fantastic move for him to move to a big club, and of course for us, it's some vital income, and I'm sure you're delighted to see him move on in that respect.
Yeah, I put in my quote yesterday to you about being disappointed from a manager's point of view of losing a really talented player. But when you think of the bigger picture, when you think about it from the club's perspective and Will's perspective, when you're at a non-league football club and you've come through the junior system, never been a professional league academy, then going to the academy into the first team, to get that move to a championship club, an ex-Premier League club, a club that are trying to get back to the Premier League, doesn't exist. You don't see that happening. You see players who come out of football league academies into non-league and then go back again, but not with what Will's done. It's absolutely brilliant to see somebody come through our system at 10 years old, I think it was, through the juniors all the way through with Callum and his coaching staff. Can you imagine that the time that's been invested in that boy? Forget the money element of it for a minute, but the time invested and the pathways created so that Will could get to the stage where he's at now. The amount of hours that's gone in the background, hundreds and hundreds of hours with him. But these we often use the word pathway with players on the development plan, and a pathway only exists if the player himself is committed. You know, how many times we've heard the saying, hard work beats talent. Talent doesn't work hard. The archetypical type of player that proves that saying. You know, we can have talented players all over the place, but for every player that gets into a first team setup, there's probably 40 or 50 lads that don't make it, and they're probably equally as talented, but haven't got that self-discipline and that ruthless streak to go and make it. And I think from the first time that Will ever came with the first team, probably about 12, 14 months ago, you could see he had that. You know, he wasn't letting anybody get in his way of how he was going to train, how he was going to play, what his beliefs were. He wasn't ever embarrassed of coming knocking on the door at 18-year-old to me and Bern on the office door saying, I should be in the squad, I should be playing. And that's what you want from young players. You know, you want them to be brave, you want them to be confident, you want them to be able to trust you that they can come in and get the right answers. So he's a product of the time and effort put in by the club, the junior coaches, Callum, the academy coaches, but also a product of his own desire, determination to make it in the game. And it's great to see a player with the attributes that he has, seeing a big club take that, I won't call it a risk because there's no risk in it from their point of view, but taking that punt on a non-league young player. We know what he's got in terms of his raw abilities. I think over the next 2 or 3 years in the under-23 setup, his technical abilities will come to the fore, and I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he'll make a career at that level as a minimum.
Of course, to some people seeing that news today, they must have, been maybe shocked, maybe surprised, but I'm sure from a football club perspective, it's something that's been worked on for a while now, and you only got to look at the relationship with Stoke with the loan of Connor Taylor as well. In that respect, the two clubs working together on these things. Yeah,
well, that's actually how the deal came about. Bernard was in talks with Dave Hibbert from Stoke about Connor coming in on loan. Dave and a couple of the other guys were asking about our younger players, what we've got on the books, what do we think? Just general conversation. I almost feel like it was a bit of an entrapment in the end, because we're given the information that we're given. We sent them some clips over of Will. They took him in on a couple of day trial, and he excelled. You know, as I've said in the past, he didn't do anything that we didn't expect him to do. He's got all the abilities. When you see an 18-year-old lad looking the way he does, powerful boy, aggressive, he was always going to go in and make a noise. So it was pleasing that after the 2-day trial, they were back in touch with us. Talks with Bernard ensued with in terms of a potential transfer. And as normally stuff like this, it's to and froing with bits of deals. And it wasn't until obviously yesterday, deadline day, that we eventually got it over the line. But it was something that had been in the pipeline over the last couple of weeks since he'd had his trial there. So I think you bang on when the supporters will be asking questions about money and stuff like that. Is the fee that we've received for Will Goodwin going to make us rich as a football club up front? Of course it's not. No, there's never fees that make you rich in non-league at our level, League 2 level, League 1 level. But how we work, and how the club's always worked in fairness, is we work on add-ons. You've got to trust that the player that you've sold can go and keep on progressing rather than that just be the best he can be. At Stoke, we believe, he can go there, make some real noise in the 23s, make his first team debut, hopefully Stoke with promotion to the Premier League, and then he gets sold on to Real Madrid. And that's where, as a football club, we have to back our judgment in the add-ons, the future fees, being the things that do eventually make the club the big money. That's how we work. It's a long-term plan for us in terms of that. But the first thing for Will is going there, expressing himself. It's very easy, I think, to go there and feel like they're doing you a favour. But I think Will's got the mindset of going in there and absolutely smashing it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's around the first team at the back end of this season, just because of his willingness to learn and always want to get better. So in terms of Connor's gone back to Stoke. Their belief is that, and I don't disagree with it, their belief is that he's better than our level. I think they can get him out on loan, maybe in the National League or League 2, and maybe train around the first team. I'm not too sure. So for Connor to go back to Stoke and play in at a higher level where there's guaranteed football, I suppose, if he's going out on loan when we don't know what's going on, will probably benefit him and Stoke a lot more than staying with us. So we've not only lost Will, we've also lost Connor going back. But in terms of numbers and around the group, even with Harris and Ethan going out on loan to Kevin Druids, it allows us to get your Stuart Crillies, your Louis Hayes back in the building, back in training, back around the first team, back in around the friendlies. What they've done out on loan at Runcorn has been fantastic. And the stuff we talked about with Ethan and Harrison being exposed to first team football, well, Louis and Stuart both had 18 months of that now. So they're another two that we've got high hopes on and can come back and play a part of potentially banging the door to get in the squad.
We move on and sort of look at what's been happening over the past couple of weeks and looking immediately to this week. There could be a game Saturday, there might not. We'll start with, obviously, the news that came out yesterday, the resolutions that came to the clubs. I don't know about you, but 8 or 9 reads, I think it was for me, before I properly understood what actually any of it meant. It's all sort of getting a little bit complicated at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, but what else did you expect? I think since this started, everything's been complicated. I'm so glad the diagram came out this morning because some of the stuff was absolutely blowing my brain. So I've had a look at the diagram. I still haven't got a clue what it means, if I'm totally honest with you. From my point of view, we're looking at the vote going in the favour of wanting to carry on playing, but none of it really matters. Without any real understanding about the funding, you might as well screw that up and throw it in the bin, because clubs will rightly refuse to play. I know we've been told by the league that we've got to Saturday, but clubs haven't got to be 4 weeks until this resolution eventually goes through. So I think where we're at this moment in time and where we'll be at on Friday afternoon are two totally different things. I've already seen a tweet from the Concord National League South chairman saying that they won't be playing this Saturday. Now, what does that look like from the league's point of view when clubs are refusing to play? What do they do about that? The clubs, chairman, owners have got bills to pay. They've got players to pay. They've got wages to pay. They've got staff to pay. Why would they pay and carry on trying to play when nothing exists at this moment in time? So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few days. I don't want to get drawn into stuff that I've talked about over the last few months due to the fact that I think I could say something now and it'll be a totally different story tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. We've been on furlough for the last week. We've got a friendly arranged tonight away at TNS to give us some sort of game time. If we have a game on Saturday, whether we go back on furlough tomorrow is another matter. I'm not sure at this moment in time, but I think one of the most difficult things for us is that we potentially got a game on Saturday and might not have trained for for 2 weeks, and on top of that, I've played 1 game in 5 weeks. So from a physiological point of view, what are the risks of picking up injuries to a group of lads that haven't done much for the last few weeks? So we tried to expose them to a game tonight against a good quality side, and we'll see what that looks like. But as I say, I won't be surprised if tomorrow morning the whole thing flips on its head and we're not playing again.
You talked about that break that we've had. You know, the players, yourselves, everyone club-wise on furlough since that Bradford game. How has that compared in terms of with the players to sort of the first lockdown and so on, and having the break, the COVID break that we had when we had the cases in November? How has it compared? Has it been another challenge in that respect in terms of working with Curly and, you know, looking at how to keep the players, keep them fit and make sure they're sticking to their routines and stuff like that?
Yeah, the Curly players, not that Curly doesn't play a massive part all the other time, but these are the times where you realise what fitness coaches, sports scientists bring to the table when lads are at home isolating or we can't train. It's what he provides them with that allows them to keep some sort of fitness up. We have a tracking device that the lads upload everything to, so we're absolutely 100% aware of what everyone's doing. I think one of the most difficult things I've found this season, and it's not been an uncommon theme actually since we've been at the club, but even more so now, the lack of training facilities, because the places that you normally train at are closed down just due to COVID protocols. I mean, we've had numerous times we've had training facilities not so near because of weather, naturally, but we really struggle to get anywhere to train. We're very nomadic we've been all over the northwest just to get an hour session in recently, but it's the nature of the beast. That's probably the biggest challenge is convincing people that what we bring when we go to a training facility in terms of the COVID protocols are all passed and met, and that's one of the most challenging things that we've had. I think that the other side of the stuff with Curly and the lads doing their own stuff, these are really professional lads. These aren't lads that sit at home eating biscuits like you do, watching Transformers all day long and playing PlayStation. They're out grabbing.
No comment.
So they look after themselves. I think we've seen in the games themselves, the distance covered by the likes of George Glenn and Anthony Dudley, Declan Weeks is absolutely phenomenal. And you can't do that on a Tuesday night and a Saturday afternoon if you're not doing it in the time when you're at home when you're meant to be doing so. In terms of the professionalism, we have no concerns with that type of stuff. I think the biggest worry is the lack of game planning together. You know, when you think back to the Bradford Park Avenue game, the back four that we had in that game 4 weeks before, 3 of them players wouldn't have been playing in their positions, and that's the type of season it's been where we've got a tight squad. We knew that back in June. Me and you talked about it, and lads being adaptable, being able to move about. But I've never seen a turnover in players having to move about and adjust and play different positions every other week just to be able to get a game played. Different sets of challenges, but ones that I think the lads have took up brilliantly and passed brilliantly too.
You talk about those challenges and sort of, I'm sure it ranks as probably the hardest season that you've had, but in terms of if we're ranking things, how does this squad and the football that they've played this season and looking at the bigger picture this season, I mean, it's been sort of on another level, hasn't it, at times, some of the football that the side's played?
Yeah, call it fearless football. You know, what I remember when we was at Salford and the season before we won the league, we finished in the playoffs. A bit like last season, we got beat on penalties. Later on, we got beat on penalties off Halifax, and we was a superb, exciting team to watch. And what we did the year after, we didn't just tweak it. We massively evolved into being a bigger, stronger team. We had 3 6'5" players. We dominated teams on set pieces. We weren't particularly pretty to watch, but we were very, very effective, and the outcome was winning the league. Now, people probably have a misconception of me and Bernard about everything's about winning. It doesn't matter about philosophy. It doesn't matter about style. It doesn't matter about culture. It couldn't be further from the truth. We want a team that our supporters, not about anything else. We want a team that our supporters can watch, whether it be at the ground or when they watch the amazing streams that you do. They can buy into what we are, what we're trying to be. They can see what we have. They're excited. Well, our supporters have been peed off with conceding against Bradford in the last minute? Absolutely. Would they have been pleased and excited with some of the stuff we're playing, the goals we scored? Absolutely. So that's what we tried to create in the summer. That's what we talked about. Let's play no-risk football. Let's have a goal. Let's excite the supporters. Let's get them on the edge of the seat. I often say things where I think, should I have said that? It creates a bit of an avalanche on me sometimes where we will make mistakes. We will do it again. And it's not meant to provoke people. I don't say that in a sense of I'm trying to wind people up. It's just that because of what we're asking lads to do, there's going to be an element of mistakes. And we see that with Manchester City and Liverpool. So we're certainly going to make them mistakes. But what I enjoy more than anything is seeing a group of 14, 15 lads, 14, 15 lads that come in the team and go out of the team. Even a Luke Clark, who's only played 3 or 4 games, come into the team. They take it like a duck to water, and we play I hate this word. I was going to say brand, but I hate that word. We play a style that everyone, and that's all that matters to us. Obviously, listen, let's not pretend it's about winning. But when you consider what we've done and what we've lost and what we've been through this season, we lost our top scorer, the best, arguably the best number 9 in all league football, arguably one of the best ones outside of League One, for free. Got no money for him. He left us before the playoffs. No danger with that. Yet we're in a position this season, after the same amount of games where we've scored more goals. Yeah, the Quasi might have been on 13, 14, 15 goals, but we've got 15 goals between Daniel and Anthony Dudley. People forget that. It's easy to use a Quasi as a standout player last season. It's very difficult to do that this year when you've got every single player in the team, in the squad, that scored a goal. Danny Lives is on 4. Our right back, Jamie Morgan's on 3. Josh Askew has already scored. The goal, Paddy Lacey scored from central midfield. I think the 2 central midfielders have been involved in 18 goals. I don't think me and Bern have had central midfielders that have scored that many or assisted that many in our whole careers. So we're not reliant upon a single player. We have a group of lads that all want to score, that are all hungry, that all want to get in the box. And actually, they're all lads that are covering more ground in terms of work ethic, in terms of the stats that we've ever had as well. Unfortunately, but where we're really weak and where we're really poor, generally is when balls come into our box, whether that be a set piece or things go down the side and come behind a fullback. But we work on them things. We'll get better on them. But the main thing for us is carry on doing what we're doing, being exciting. The wins will come. Keep this group together because it can only get better. That I suppose that's the biggest takeaway me and Bird take from all of this group. When you look at the average age of the squad, when you take the 2 granddads out of it, you look at the average age. It's scary what we can do going forward. So really excited about the future, whether that be this Saturday or whether that be beyond. In a few weeks or next season. There's a really exciting time to be at the football club.